Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care.
We're going. The noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, March 27th, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil. Episode 425. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikToks at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. This past week, Phil's article went out on the website a little late on Tuesday. That's my fault. But you can give that a read. Still there, not going anywhere. If you want to go back, 3 years you've been doing this? 3 years worth of articles, those are there. I think I wrote one about the Sabres being the team that could break this drought like 5 years ago, or maybe 4 at this point.
Yeah, but now would be a fun time to reread that one.
It would be a fun time. I don't know how relevant it still is with players there. Maybe I'll give it a gander after we're done here.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you thought might have worked and then didn't, and what the team looks like now.
That's true. Flashback. We're going to see if our feelings still are true after their most recent 2 games. Interview Wednesday with Saskatchewan's own Cody Jansen, a new freshly purchased owner of a hockey team overseas. Talked a little bit about that, but man, he's younger than both of us for sure. I don't even think he's 30 yet. And he's the founder of the Montana Lacrosse League. He's the voice of the Saskatchewan Rush and has been. Now he owns a hockey team. It puts, I'm doing nothing in my life. Except 5 years
I heard
of this.
That on the interview, I was like, didn't you say he's younger than us? That's embarrassing.
Yeah, but I think
does he need any co-owners? We can offer like $1 or $2.
I got $5. $5. Brooke's still at home, so I can invest. Power rankings and Week 18 Pick'em came out on Thursday. If you didn't participate this week in People's Picks, you can vote next week. We got 3 more weeks of this. I'm in dead last. Phil's leading the pack, and the People's Picks are right in the middle. Phil's leading the People's Picks by 2, and me by 4. So it's we're all doing really good though. Considering how crazy this season's been, we're all well above 500. So we're doing pretty good overall. Phil's just crushing the field. On today's episode, Sabres last 2 games, both overtime losses. We got Buffalo versus Saskatchewan preview. Before that, we have one Ask the BSC. There was just one question. I know Phil's also got a tiny game mixed in. And then Week 18 outlook. But Phil, let's dive into the Sabres' performances of late. When we were recording, they were facing Anaheim. They ended up losing that one 6-5 in overtime. On that road trip, they got 7 of 8 points, which was fantastic. They were down 4-2 going into the third. They took the 5-4 lead, and I put in the chat, this team's winning the frickin' Super Bowl. It'd be impressive if they won the Super Bowl. Winning the frickin' Stanley Cup. The top line wasn't great. Lyon was okay, but didn't get much help. The penalties and special teams definitely killed them in this one. Especially the penalty kill absolutely killed them in this one. And then Wednesday versus Boston, they lose 4-3 in overtime. Again, they come back. It was a bad 40 minutes, but they got a point out of it. Every point's helpful in this. I guess my question to you, I got a couple questions here. First one, are you still as confident in this team? And what's crazy is I'm asking this after they still got 2 of 4 points. Are you still as confident in this team as you were going into the show last week on Monday, or has that confidence wavered at all?
No. We've talked about it a few times on here that they're like a ridiculous historic pace, not even a good pace for the Sabres or a good pace for this season. What'd you say? It was since 1995, no one's had as good of a 40-game stretch in the NHL. That's historically good pace. It can't keep up. Somehow they've continued to keep up. This can't keep up pace, but I feel like our expectations have been blown through the roof, not even just attempting to make playoffs, but even now, I feel like in season, we've continually readjusted what we expect from this team because they continue to shatter all of previous expectations. So at this point, it's really hard to lose any confidence on a team that is just playing some of the best hockey in the entire NHL. Like again, it's just we didn't expect them to be here. Fighting for playoffs, we were hopeful. Not in December. We've talked about it a million times, but like for them to be fighting for the top of the East, the top of the Atlantic, like I've even had to talk myself down, I think, a little bit. Like if they lose the Atlantic, like it's not a big deal. Like we were hoping at best top three. Like a few weeks ago, we were like, okay, they're snuck into the top three. That's great. Like how can they stay in the division, not to fight for a wild card? Now we're talking top of the Atlantic, top of the East. Like it's okay if they don't reach either of those milestones. The team's still shattering all expectations. So no, the confidence I have is still extremely high for what they've been able to do, what this team should be, and they're allowed to have a bad game here and there. Like they just haven't had it. So I feel like we're so not used to it all of a sudden, which is crazy to say. But it is allowed to happen. They are allowed to lose, and like you said, they still got 2 in overtime, so they aren't even regulation losses. They're still getting points. So no, I don't think my confidence has. I think it would take a lot at this point. Like it would take. We still haven't seen back-to-back regulation losses in who knows how long. So I think it would take something like that, like a true 3-game losing streak, a win 1, 2-game losing streak to like really be like, okay, what's going on? The team looks a little off now. What they just did is a bummer because I'm trying to have them mentally. I'd love them to stay at the top of the Atlantic and win the Atlantic and go for the East. Like all of that sounds great. I don't know how realistic it really is, but losing 2 in overtime, you're like, dang, like we really needed those points. But at the same time, you can't expect them to win every single game, even though they're doing a pretty good job of doing pretty close to that.
So, what I'm about to say might seem crazy, and if it is, I apologize. I'm not saying I'm concerned. I'm not even saying I'm worried, but that 14-year drought and how this team had played for 14.2 years is still there. Like, I am not fully there to fully absolve them of everything that we had seen in the past. I know I said this team is a completely different team. And I'm not discrediting what we've seen from them for the past close to 5 months at this point. But it's still there, Phil. Like, I'm still, like, my body is still prepared to be hurt again. Like, it's still there. Like, I think that they're going to be a top 2 seed coming out of the Atlantic. I don't see how there's any way that they wouldn't with an 8-point lead over Montreal, even though Montreal's got 2 games in hand. But it's still there. Like, I can't get myself to fully look away because of how many times, even just on this show the last 5 years doing this thing, being on those train tracks, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and continually getting run over by the stupid train. So I'm not saying I'm worried. And I think I've said that like 4 times now because I'm trying to convince myself to say I'm not worried. I do have to put myself in the mindset that you're in of going, this team has been on a historic run. Both of these games, they took it to overtime and got the loser point out of it. That's a good thing. You can make playoffs in this stupid 2-1 point system instead of the 3-2-1 system, which I know people did the whole math and Buffalo would still be clear in first and the teams that should be in the playoffs are still in the playoffs. But I think it's just in me not to, like, you can't just forget about the past because of how good they've been
too many times.
Yeah, it's still in me to be hurt again. Like I'm kind of, my body's ready for it. I don't even know if I would be let down just because of how many times they let me down. So it's great they've come back from both games to get those points, but it still goes back to the fact of they haven't looked good in a full 60 in a bit here. The Tuck has not looked good in these last 2 games. Tage has looked a bit iffy besides that one good play he made. Some of the questionable decisions they're making on the back end, like sending Zach Metza down. I don't understand that at all. He's one of your top 6 players, top 5 defensemen down there, and they send him down to Rochester. And I get that, you know, Oslin might be hurt, and maybe when people are listening to this, you know, they're you know more information than we know right now at 7:42 on Thursday night. But like to bench him for Luke Shen was a stupid decision. To bench him to get Connor Timmins in, and I understand that Timmins is freshly back. You want to see what he's got. In my opinion, you scratch Logan Stanley for that.
Shen.
Like Metza
Yep.
is one of
Yep.
those players at this point that should not be leaving the lineup, and he gets sent down. Like I don't know what message that sends to the locker room and those players
Yeah.
of this guy hasn't been scored on 5-on-5. I think that's still true since October. And he gets sent down. Like, I'm not
Right.
saying this guy's fantastic. I know he doesn't play on the power play or the penalty kill much, but he's relied upon that you can put him on the ice and know that you're not going to get burned. He's been one of your best top 5 defensemen for this long stretch here. Like, when they turn it on, Zach Metz has been in the lineup. I just don't know what message you're sending to the locker room by going, okay, this player who's been playing
Thanks for your
fantastic,
service.
you're not good enough. Go down to Rochester. We need this space. I don't like that. I understand why they did it because of his ability to go up and down as opposed to all their people that are in this lineup. I don't like that the message. There should have been a different way around it. I don't think that's the reason that they're going to, if they go on a bad stretch here, that's the reason. I just don't like that decision. He needs to be back up before playoffs. He needs to be one of the starting 6 in the playoffs for this blue line if they want to be successful. I just don't understand that decision. I don't agree with it. And that on top of back-to-back, compared to what we've been known to see the last 4 months, poor play on the ice, it's just I can't get it out of me, Phil. Like I know I said that this team like is a wagon. They're making the playoffs. I still fully agree with all that. It's just that 14 plus year drought is in the back of my mind of how can they mess this up? It's the Buffalo in us, Phil. It's the Buffalo in us.
Yeah, with roster expansion now after the trade deadline.
That's the thing. I don't get it.
Right, like why I don't understand why Mets had to get sent down.
I know
like,
the salary cap,
it comes
but,
down right. It comes down to salary
but
cap.
he
I
makes
thought they
pennies.
had space. Right, exactly. So that seems weird because especially like what you were just saying, like I get wanting to see Timmins. Nobody you have in him before playoffs to see like can he be relied on if something happens or just to get him some ice time. I get all that, but like you said, then it comes down to Stanley or Shen. They should be out of the lineup because Mets has been such a staple. And not only that, if you
I get that Logan Stanley has been playing fantastic the last few games. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But why should he stay in the lineup and Metza, who's been playing as good for longer, gets the boot? That's what I don't
Unless
get.
it's just simply because Metza can keep playing hockey if he goes down
That's what I
instead
think
of
is
just
the only
sitting on
reason.
just sitting on the bench or just sitting in the press box. He can still play. So at least he's still doing something, not just sitting doing nothing. But if he's going to be in your starting lineup, and again, like maybe we'll see him the last 5 games of the season, but if he's going to be in your starting playoff roster, he should be there for the end of the season stretch and then carried into playoffs. Like you don't want him to miss the final 10 games with the team and then be okay, you're on the playoff roster, let's go. Like I don't think that'd be just good for him or the team. Like you want him playing with this team. So hopefully if he's sent down for a little bit, it is to get like Timmins a tryout so he can still play and stay fresh. But hopefully toward the end, they get him back up here if they do expect him in the playoff lineup. And I think after what he's done all season, he deserves to be in the playoff lineup.
So Tampa currently losing. Oh, no, I just refreshed. They're still losing 2-1 in the first period. So Buffalo is maintaining.
They never lose.
This is a very important game for Tampa to lose versus Seattle because they with that overtime loser point, yeah, they're 3 points up, but Tampa still got those 2 games in hand. So and Carolina is not playing as of this recording. So they maintain that with 1 game in hand over Buffalo. But, sitting at 96 points, it's stupid that currently there are 3 teams sitting outside of the playoffs right now in the Eastern with 80 plus points. And then you flip it over to the Western Conference, and a team currently with 77 points is in the final wildcard spot. Like 77 points would be fifth last behind Washington.
79 points is top 3 in a division. Like that's horrible.
84 points. Like 84 points over there in Anaheim is leading the Pacific. They would not be in the playoffs in the Eastern right now. Like it's insane. Like they got Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota over in the West, and then it's just like junk.
Nothing.
Like I know I probably shouldn't be saying that as a Buffalo Sabres guy
It's true.
after what
That's true.
we've gone through the last few years, but who knows if we're going to be back next year. We got to push it and rub it in as we can. But they have Detroit on Friday and Seattle on Saturday before New York Islanders on Tuesday to round out this home stretch. You got to get, Detroit and Seattle. I think you got to get those 4 points if you want to maintain. And I guess real quick, since we're already like 15 minutes into the Sabre segment here, do you still want that top seed in the Eastern Conference, or are you just more worried about first in the Atlantic, or does that not even matter to you? Like, are you just worried about top 2 in the Atlantic? Do you want the top seed overall in the East, or just the Atlantic? Like, where are you feeling on going into the playoffs? Where do you want this team sitting?
It all like I haven't looked at like if the playoffs started now kind of thing. Like because I kind of haven't needed to care about the playoff system in so long. I don't know who they'd play depending on
Right
where they
now, they
are.
would
Like,
be facing Boston,
which I don't
I believe. No,
love.
I'm sorry. I think it's Ottawa because they're leading, so they would
That I
face
don't
the
mind.
less of the. No, because Carolina has the better percentage point. So yeah, it would be Boston. Right now, if playoffs started today, they would be facing Boston.
Yeah, so I don't love that. It really just depends on who they would play in the first round, and like, so I don't really care where they finish. I just want them to finish in a spot that the team they play. I don't think I'd want Tampa in round one.
It would be
I don't
very
think I'd
tough to
want.
get Tampa in round one.
I'm just saying. I wouldn't want Carolina in round one again. Don't think that's going to happen either. But
That
and
can't
then
happen.
outside of that, I think the only one that really scares me outside of them is Boston. I mean, they just played them really tough. Boston's just a gritty team that's been in playoffs forever. Um, Montreal is good, but doesn't scare me. Same with the Blue Jackets. Same with Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh again, very veteran team. I don't love that aspect of them, but to me, it doesn't really matter where they finish. If they win the Atlantic, if they win the East, I don't really care. I just care about what their first round matchup looks like.
That's fair. I think I would prefer them getting the number one seed in at least the Atlantic. That way, you get if you advance and Tampa advances, you get the
Home.
home ice. That
Yep.
would just be my preference. I don't think they're going to end up first in the Eastern, just because Carolina is really really good, and you kind of got to keep pace with Carolina. And Buffalo's got
Yeah.
4 teams left out of their 10-game schedule here of teams that are in the playoffs, and then Detroit and Islanders are right there as well. So, yeah, I can't see them getting first. I just want Tampa because I've learned to hate Tampa recently.
Yeah.
I just want
That
Buffalo
game
to
is
finish
going to
that.
be.
It's going to be
Ooh.
insane. Yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean, it'll be
can't wait
interesting to
for it.
see what the standings look like by the time they get there, but that's going to be just such a heated, massive, massive game. That's going to be wild.
What's insane is they'll have that game and then they still got 4 games
Yeah.
left. They'll
Yeah.
have back to back Wednesday and Thursday, and then they get a little bit of a break before Monday, Wednesday to finish their season. But yeah, 10 games left on their schedule. They got a ways to go if they want to continue to be a top team in the Atlantic. A bit of a skid here, but we're not losing faith
10 game
yet.
stretch, just finish strong.
Have another 7 of 8 type of performance on this homestand here, and you'll be feeling a lot better. But we'll move on here. Bandits, Ask the BSC. That is us. We post every Wednesday, even though I forgot, and I posted it like 1 a.m. on Thursday because I had a late soccer game, and I was like, oh, crap, I forgot this. So if you are still doing it, let me double check here. Let me make sure there's no late entries, Phil, because that is 24 hours, and no late entries. So we only have one entry, so thank you for asking this question, Phil. It's a very particular type of question, so you got to put on your thinking cap here. So I got mine. I think cap's on. I should get one of those. I still got to get my seatbelt too for when I say buckle it in. I haven't said that very often, but with only 4 games left on the Buffalo Bandits schedule, this person that wrote in is asking, and I guess saying, Buffalo only loses one of them. So they finished 3-1 down this stretch, which I think is impressive considering who they're facing. Who do you think would be that one loss and why? So they got Saskatchewan this coming weekend, then they got Vancouver at home, they got Rochester at home, and then they travel to Oshawa to close out the season. So out of those 4, Buffalo only loses one of those. They win the other 3. Who do you think they lose to and why?
Yeah, spoilers. I think it's going to be the Rush. I think the biggest thing I feel like it's just a tall task to go into Saskatchewan to beat them after you've already beat them once in overtime to save your season. I think it's going to be really hard to beat them twice during the year, especially going back out west after going out west. I think it's going to just be a really big ask for the Bandits and the Rush. I know they're slipping right now and they're on a little bit of a skid, but I think they're going to obviously want to get off of that. And if there was ever this is like the opposite of a get right game in a way because it's not an easy team. So it's not that kind of get right game. But if the Rush can get up for a game against anybody, it's the Bandits at home. So I think this is going to be a game where the Rush really want to establish themselves once again as the best team in the league. They want to take down a team that's already beat them this year. They only have 4 losses. The Bandits were one of them. They're at home. I feel like it's just going to be a lot for Buffalo to win this game. It's possible. I'm not saying it's just a foregone conclusion that the Rush are going to crush them or anything like that, but I think it's going to be a big ask for the Bandits this week.
So I agree everything you said. And because I'm only allowed to pick one here, our BSC pick'em came out on Thursday, so you already know I'm picking Saskatchewan. But because I'm only allowed to assign one loss, I will give them the victory in this specific situation. It's going to change in a bit. I will give them the loss to Vancouver. And the reason that I'm giving them the loss to Vancouver is because at the moment, and even with our power rankings, you can kind of see it, I think Vancouver is the best team in the league right now. I think they're one of the hottest teams in the league. I think Buffalo and Toronto can argue with that as well on their winning streaks. But Vancouver, just top to bottom, to me, is the best team across the league. You have one of the best goaltenders in the league. When he retires, he might be one of the best goaltenders that ever played this sport. He might not have the numbers to back up what Matt Vince is doing, but the consistency from Christian Del Bianco is insane. Rochester, I think they get the win. I think Rochester's slipping. I don't know if they even win another game the rest of the season. I have to look at their schedule, but they're on such a downward stretch, and the mismanage of their goalie situation is insane. Oshawa, I think unless that game means nothing to Buffalo, I think they can beat Oshawa pretty well. Saskatchewan, I think for what we've seen, Buffalo has beat them all but one time in the last 2 years, game 2, and that one was a 2-goal game, I believe. Phil's gonna double check, I think, as I'm talking.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think Vancouver, top to bottom, now that their offense is finally figured out, I do think that they can be exposed time to time. But overall, I think Vancouver's the top team across the league. They're a team that I think Buffalo doesn't match up perfectly against, even though Buffalo, swept them in the playoffs last year. But besides that, 5-minute stretch versus Vancouver a couple weeks ago, you didn't really perform very well against Vancouver. And most of those goals were like decent bounces to you. I'm not going to say lucky bounces because you got to be in those positions, but fortunate bounces. I think Vancouver to me would be the loss that I would assign Buffalo. But spoiler, I have them losing 2 of these next 4 games and finishing 10-8. So if I'm only allowed to assign them one loss, I will give them to Vancouver. But I think in the end they lose 2, to be honest.
Since 2024, Buffalo's lost to Saskatchewan once, and it was 11-10.
Yep.
Other than that, they've had 2 overtime victories against them, but they've won all the other ones.
Perfect. Yeah. So,
and then the only thing I'd say about Vancouver and Buffalo is when they played Vancouver, I think they were still playing poorly. As far as Buffalo goes, that was before their
we thought they were. Their GM, Dietrich, thought they were playing really well.
Well, I mean, he said they were on the right path, on the upswing, and he was right, because the next weekend they started to finally put it together.
The path just goes
and take
like
off.
this.
Yeah, that's a little snaky. But yeah, to us, they were still playing pretty bad in that game. I thought they just looked bad. Again, part of that is because Vancouver's a good team. So it's easy to look bad against a good team. But after that, they've gone on their hot streak since. So I do think we'll get a little bit of a different game, especially being at home for the next Vancouver matchup. So I think it'll be close. I don't think Vancouver will pull away or anything. I could see Vancouver winning that game, but I could see Buffalo winning a close one there too. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Rush.
Good question, though. Thank you for writing in. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, whatever, you can literally, it doesn't even have to be Bandits theme. You can ask us whatever you want. We'll answer it. I'll put it like this. I'll at least answer whatever question comes in. If it's too much for Phil, he doesn't have to. I won't put that label on
Thank you.
him. I have no feelings or emotions or I can't be embarrassed. I'll put it like that. So ask me whatever you want. I'll answer it here. I do not care. Brooke hates that about me. I think she loves and hates that about me is that I can't be embarrassed. So the things that I say, I don't say like inappropriate things out in public. I say those in the confines of my own home most times. Um, but yeah, if like something's embarrassing me or my friends or my wife, I'll say it in public. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. So that's one of the benefits of having this podcast. If I sound like an idiot and I'm wrong, I'm going to admit I'm wrong and then keep moving on. It doesn't hurt my feelings to be called out. I do not care. But Phil, before we dive into previewing the rematch from earlier this season, Buffalo versus the Rush, let's go over our sponsor of the episode, Tap That Tap Room.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar, featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a variety of ciders, sours, beers, seltzers, and malt beverages.
I'd say the couch is going to get a workout the next few nights, but it will not be. The chairs at Tap That Tap Room will be. And if you're not there early enough, you won't even be in a chair. Your feet are going to get a workout because you're going to be standing the whole stinking time because we're going to pack that Tap Room. Friday, 7 p.m. is the Sabres game. Saturday, 5:30 is also the Sabres game. And stay for the doubleheader. Saturday, 9 p.m. is the Bandits game. All games are going to be on all of the TVs with the sound on. We say it all the time. This is the best party spot for watching Buffalo sports now. And I'm not just including just Bandits anymore because Sabres are an absolute wagon. They're also on these TVs. You got the NCAA tournament is being played on Thursday as we're talking right now. They got that game on. Tap That Tap Room is playing all the sports games all the time. And when you're there, you know why you're there. You're cheering on the Sabres or the Bandits. They're the best place to go if you can't get to the arena, and it's a bit cheaper, Phil. And they got many more options, and you don't have to wait for a bartender. It's the best place to be to watch your Buffalo Bandits, Buffalo Sabres, and Buffalo Bills of past years. They're not playing right now, so I can't include them. But to find out what else they got coming up, because they got a bunch of stuff on their event page, check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com because they have something
for everyone.
Oh, almost got you. Bandits versus Rush. Did you want to do your game now or in the middle of this? I don't know.
We can do it after. We can do it after.
After? Okay.
We'll do it before. We can even do it actually after the NLL Outlook.
Okay, that works. We'll close it out with Phil's game. Bandits 8-6, Rush 11-4. Their goal for Saskatchewan's finally under 12. I got to do the math, Phil. Like the scoring this season, I know it started down and it picked back up, but compared to prior years, the scoring's down this year. Like it just is. Saskatchewan's second, Buffalo's seventh. Goals against, Saskatchewan's third. Buffalo's down to tied for sixth. They got theirs under 11 this past week. First and second in power plays. Buffalo's first, Saskatchewan's second. Penalty kill. Buffalo's second, Saskatchewan is fourth. So the penalty kill and the power play are very good. They could be very critical in this game. Then shots for, they both have dropped. Buffalo's eighth, Saskatchewan's ninth. But shots against, they still do not give up very many shots. And with the offenses not putting up a ton of shots, this could be a matchup where they're looking for quality instead of quantity in shots because Buffalo's giving up the third most. Saskatchewan's giving up the first. I'm sorry. Buffalo's giving up the third least. Saskatchewan's giving up the least across the league.
Sorry, I was doing a lot of internal math. So the Rush right now are, I know by average, I'm just taking them because they, from what I can see, have the most goals in the league right now. So last year, Buffalo was number one at 242 goals ending the year. And Saskatchewan currently has 178. If you give them, we'll say 12 a game for 36, that puts them at what, 206, 216?
Sure.
So either way, way off of what Buffalo did last year. So yeah, I would say the scoring overall, because even Halifax last year was at 239, 228 was Rochester. So there were a lot of teams kind of up there. 219 was the Roughnecks, 214, 215, 213. So if the number one team is hitting right around 216, and last year you had 8 or 9 teams right around 215, 216, I would say the scoring overall is probably down a bit. Were you gonna say something?
No, I'm doing the math to figure out how many goals they need to score total between all these
Oof.
teams. Um, so you can go ahead. I'm doing it on Excel, so this will be pretty quick.
Yeah, a lot of these numbers are very similar. You got first, second, fourth, eighth, ninth, third, first. They compare surprisingly well. We've heard this a lot throughout the year that Buffalo's still a really good team. It's been hard to watch them most of the season at times and consider them still a really good team. We've thought they needed some offensive help. They finally got it. It hasn't really clicked yet for Joey Rez. We'll give him some more time to find out how he does in this offense, but it looks like the team is starting to establish themselves once again as just a top team in the league. I'm not going to say the top, maybe not even like you said, top 2, maybe top 3, but Buffalo is finally getting there, and I think this will be another good test for both of these teams as far as where they are. But even going through the goals for, I mean, that's the farthest that they're off, and Buffalo's at 7, and Saskatchewan's second, but they're less than 1 goal for apart, even though it's between 2 and 7. I know the goals against are a little bit further with pretty much an exact over 1 goal difference, so that is a pretty big difference, even though that's third and sixth. But Buffalo's defense and Vince have been much, much better recently and figured it out. And they figured out Saskatchewan last time, only allowing 9 goals against them in that game. So it could be a very even matchup. I don't really see anywhere on here that one team is clearly like elite compared to the other than goals against being one off. But again, I think a lot of Buffalo's troubles were earlier in the season. They've been a little bit steadier and better more recently, so it's hard to even take that one as that far of a difference. So I think it's just a very evenly matched game, as we should expect from 2 of the better teams in the league.
So there are 27 games left across the league for the rest of the season. Last year, and there's the same amount of games from last year to this year. It's not like they lost a team this last year. Last year they scored 2,921 goals total between all 14 teams. Every team played 18 games. This year, right now, with technically there's 54 game or unplayed games between all the teams left. So 27 games, 54 total. Through 198 matches for every team, they've scored 2,162 goals. That's a difference right now of 759 goals. To reach last year's number in the 27 games left of the season, each over under each game has to average 28 goals a game. That doesn't happen. Like most over unders are set at 21 and a half, 22 and a half, and if you're lucky, 23 and a half. So I think by far we're going to have a very down scoring season. Like even if you just look
That's
at averages per game,
15 to 13 game every single game.
Yes. Yeah. That's what's insane right now is that's how far off the pace it is of 759 goal difference with just 27 games to go. So I was right. I just wanted to double check and make sure I was right. So there's your math for you. Maybe we'll tweet that out and I'll do the math there and check it even what it was 2 years ago. But that might be more difficult with Panther City. So maybe I'll just do per averages. Maybe I'll just screw that year. But this is the second time Buffalo has faced Saskatchewan this season. Game 1 took place the end of February. It was the start of Buffalo's big run here. This was a big weekend that we talked about where no matter what happened versus Saskatchewan, they had to beat Toronto the next night. It would be fantastic and you would do a ton of work to help yourself get back into this playoff rush. Remember, they were 4-6 going into this weekend, and you and I were both going like, if they don't at least go 1-1 and the win versus Toronto, you might want to look into selling this, because that was even before the bye week where they were going into the bye week ahead of the deadline. They won 11-10 in overtime. Like, this is what started that streak. Saskatchewan outshot them. Farrell got just dominated the faceoff dot, 20-4. Saskatchewan was 1 for 3 on the power play. Buffalo was 2 for 3. Buffalo started 3-0, and it was 5-2 after 1. It was 8-4 Buffalo at half, 10-7 after 3. But remember, this was also the game where Ian McKay, who had 4 goals, got hurt in the third quarter. After that 10th goal, he went down. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was after the 10th goal, right? Yeah. I believe so. It was either after the 9th or 10th. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think
but
it was 9th.
It might have been 9th. Robert Church tied it with 57 seconds to go, and then Byrne wins it nearly 7 minutes into overtime. Like, Nanticoke played really well. This was the game that you and I were both talking. Like, Ian McKay's back. Like, 4-1-5, 7 shots on net. Until he got hurt, he was rolling. Like, Byrne won 7-8. He was back. Smith only had 4 assists. Vince was playing unbelievable. They were holding Saskatchewan's goal scorers beyond Ryan Keenan to 4 goals in check. They were getting to Chiliano. Like, I thought overall this was a statement game by Buffalo. Yeah, they only scored 10, but they were going against the top team in the league at that point, who had only lost, 1 game going into this one? And I think it was versus Ottawa.
I think they were on like their 9 or 10 game win streak at the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. But this was not a get-right game, but this was a prove-it game for this team to show that we still got it. We want to be buyers at the deadline and show that we want one more run with this core group. Let's get this done and win it. And Saskatchewan pushed them to the absolute limit. Like, when Ian McKay, he came back and played on that bum ankle, and he was the one that set that great screen on 2 guys to free up Josh Byrne to end it. But this game, to me, felt like the game where they got back to themselves. The defense changed. Josh Byrne got back to being Josh Byrne. They were getting inside. Like, this, to me, at the end of February, was their get-right game to show, okay, we're still a team that can go win an NL title. Help us by go getting some pieces at the trade deadline. They did that. But overall, I think regardless of what our predictions are right now, we're going to get into that in a minute. I think this is going to be a very close game, and I would not be shocked if this is another overtime game.
Yeah, and just going back to that weekend, had they lost this game, we even just talked about the San Diego game being so critical that if they lost the San Diego game, it might have really dampened their playoff hopes. Well, if they would have lost against the Rush and then lost the San Diego game, or it would have made the San Diego game a 100% must win because they'd be sitting 7-7 right now. So having that extra game cushion meant so much to where they're sitting right now, and it would be a lot scarier had they not won that game in overtime. But I think it's just 2 really good teams, like you said. I don't even know if Saskatchewan at that time, I mean, it's hard not to get up for that kind of game, and I was worried about that one, that Saskatchewan would just be ready for it because they want to beat Buffalo in Buffalo after the championship and everything last year. But knowing how Buffalo was performing at the time, maybe Saskatchewan was just caught off guard, because that's when we saw some of the changes that Buffalo had made that they hadn't made previously, where they were starting to force teams to the outside a little bit more. And like you said, the offense was starting to click a little bit more. So this game, and we've talked about this before, that if you're playing 2 games, which one do you want home? Which one do you away? Like, which game do you have more of an advantage of, the first game or the second game? Between Buffalo and the Rush, I think Buffalo had a big advantage in that first game because a lot of things clicked for them and a lot of things changed for them going into that game that Saskatchewan hadn't seen earlier in the year from Buffalo that you couldn't watch on film because things had changed. So now Buffalo on this 4-game win streak, Saskatchewan has a little bit more tape of what they've been doing recently and what's worked for Buffalo recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how Saskatchewan counters what Buffalo was able to do against them in game 1, now in game 2 with the Rush at home.
So we'll just fly through these players real quick because we've went over these multiple times. Levi Anderson, Ryan Keenan, Zach Mans are likely going to be your lefties. And then for the righties, they're going to run righty heavy with Robert Church, Brock Haley, Austin Shanks, and Josh Sawada. Shanks has been having a bit of not a down year because he's still on pace to do what he did last year, but he's not up with the Church. He's not up with the Keenan. He's not up with the Mans. He's about 11 points back of Zach Mans. He's sitting in 4th place right now. So he's not having a bad season. He's still shooting over 25% on net, 25, 35, and 60. He was a bandit killer last year in the playoffs until Justin Martin was able to shut him down. But I I'm still worried about this offense versus Saskatchewan. I think they're one of, if not the best team in the league. The depth, when we talked to Cody Jansen, he was talking about the depth of this. And you got your legit top four guys in Keenan and Mans on the left, and you got Robert Church and Austin Shanks on the right. But it's the depth. Like Brock Haley, and when we talked to John Frazier a couple weeks ago before the game one preview, he was saying he could be a 70-point player on any other team. He's got 33 points as the fifth fiddle on this team. Levi Anderson and Josh Zawada are being able to bring their games along slowly, not having to be relied upon. So in 2 or 3 years, they're able to take that next step and be those relied upon guys. But for Buffalo, like, are we going to see the same defense versus San Diego? I think we should. Like, the only difference that I would see is if Nick Weiss is ready to return, he just inserts for Carter Coffey. Carter Coffey goes back to the practice squad, and then you bring in Nick Weiss. If Nick Weiss still isn't ready yet, I think you got to roll out the same defense minus Dooley goes in for Carter. I don't think they should have changed that. No shot again. No. When I'm saying this, I'm not being negative towards the player. I just feel like it kind of goes to the Zach Metza one. I thought Taylor Dooley just had his best game of his career, and he gets sent down. I don't know what kind of message that sends to the room or the player when you just played your best professional lacrosse game of your career, and you're like, okay, we're good. Let's send in Carter Coffey here. Like, I think you should have rolled with Taylor Dooley. In the end, it didn't matter. But if Nick Weiss isn't ready, I think Taylor Dooley goes back in. We don't see the same lineup once again. But I'll put it like this. I would be floored if Nick Weiss is not back in the lineup. I would be very shocked. I don't know anything. I'm not saying I have any inside information, but he's been questionable back-to-back weeks. I would be very shocked if going against Saskatchewan in a game that I think they really, really want to maintain that 2.5 game lead over a playoff spot here, that Nick Weiss wouldn't be able to get up and get ready for this game. Unless it's like he's like sitting 90%, you want him fully back. I think he's back in this one. To me, personally, I think he was probably 95% last week, and they're like, let's get him to 100 versus Saskatchewan not versus San Diego. So I would be floored if Nick Weiss is not back. I would not be disappointed if he's not, because that would mean he's probably close but not fully there, and they want to make sure he's fully healthy and get their whole team back. But I would be floored if Nick Weiss is not back in the lineup. I think it's a big opportunity to have a bounce back game for Mitch Desnew, which I thought he played not very well, like for his standards. And then the last thing is, I think you need more transition from this team. Like it dried up versus San Diego when the offense was struggling. They did not do anything in the transition game. Like no scoring came from the back end. When your offense is not producing, you need to make do elsewhere. And I think that needs to come from the transition game. Yeah, not having Nick Weiss in the lineup definitely hurts the transition game, but you need other guys to step up. Matt Spanger has put in a couple in the transition game. You've had Steve Perillo put in a couple in the transition game. I think if the offense struggles against Saskatchewan, you need to find a goal or two in the transition game to try to spark this team to score more goals.
Just not from Desnew.
If he's within 10 feet, sure. not out 30 feet.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, I mean, when you were talking to Jansen in the interview, go listen to it. I'm not trying to spoil everything, but he did mention how athletic the Rush are. So I do think that you see, like, if Nick Weiss isn't out there, I do think you see a Dooley or even McCannell, who was a healthy scratch. He's a little bit quicker out there of a defensive player. So I do wonder if they make some switches to try to get some more speed on the back end, which we've seen a handful of times. I don't think Coffey should play in this one. Again, don't think he played bad, but I do think, unless it was purely based on transition, which would blow my mind, I do think they had Smith on defense a lot in the last game because they just were not trusting Coffey as much as they maybe hoped that they could. But when the game was super close, I think they were just relying on Dane Smith to do everything, which was ended up working great because he's amazing, but it's not something you want to do. And now if he still does a couple shifts to help transition and try to push the pace, that's fine. But he was out there a lot on defense and then a lot on offense. And again, ended up working. But I think you're going to see more speed on the back end. I think you're going to see Coffee out of this game. And he's fine moving forward. Got no problem with him. I'm excited for what he can bring to the Bandits in general. I think it's going to be more next year than the rest of this year. But we'll see. Like we've said last game, not going to pick any healthy scratches. I'm not going to pick who's in the lineup because it's all over the place every single week. But I do hope either Dooley gets in or McCannell gets in because I do think they're going to want a little bit more speed out there with this athletic defense. I think Desnu needs to, like you said, not shoot from 30 feet out and give the ball up a little bit quicker at other times. But the transition has been missing a bit. I know Weiss has been one of their best transition players, but even like you mentioned, Priolo and those players, but even Dylan Robinson, it was something that you talked about at the beginning of the season that maybe this would be his year to be a little bit more of a transition player. And he hasn't really taken that step to be that guy, but he still can be. So, I mean, we've seen him go on breakaways. He just hasn't capitalized on that opportunity.
Hit
but
the net.
Right. He might be one of those players that needs to push in this kind of game to be a little bit more transition heavy if, like you said, the offense is struggling a little bit.
Yeah, we'll flip over to the defense, and I'm not going to go through all the names because you know it. That Matt Hossick's one of the best defenders across the league. Talked to Jansen about that one. Jake Boudreau should be up for Transition Player of the Year. Adam Jay's a quiet guy. Mike Messenger is just a man that can move mooses. Like, he literally does that. Jake Naso at the faceoff dot seems to have Connor Farrell's number over and over and over again. Ryan Barnable, Holden Garlant, he's doubtful last week, so I would be shocked if he's back in the lineup in this one. Levi Virch, let's see if the rookie gets another opportunity. He's a player that you and I both were targeting in the draft. Fell one pick away. I still don't think Buffalo would have taken him, but one player that stood out above the rest for me of somebody that I don't think is getting enough attention is Ascioni, and this is what Jansen had to say about him.
Accioni's sick. That kid is so slick with the ball. Like, he's got hands like a forward. He is fast as anyone in the league or on the team at least, where, there's a lot of similarities with the way him, Barnable, Boudreau play. It's that Saskatchewan Rush style. It's push the pace. It's put your opponents in awkward situations. He's obviously more mature. He's now fully healthy again. That's, something else. And I think that confidence is there where he's taking those risks and opportunities. Man, if you're putting cash in the bank, you might as well keep shooting, right? And I think that's something for Accioni. You want to see that kid keep growing with confidence because he's a guy who can pop 7 to 10 a year, in the future.
So this defense has always been very good at push and transition and scoring those goals there. We talked about in the finals last year where you got to limit that and do not give them opportunities to score in that one position and system there, because that can come back to burn you. And in close games like this, it's special teams and it's the goals that you can score in transition. So I do think that being able to get off the field quickly on the second and fourth quarters are important. Getting back checks, like this could be an opportunity for Buffalo to get a ton of cause turnovers on the back checking. Like this could be finally the game. Josh Byrne finally gets his first cause turnover of the game. This could be one where Dane Smith does. Like I think this is an opportunity where you can cheat a bit, but also be cautious on making sure that if I'm cheating, somebody else is getting off the field so the defense is there, so you're not giving odd man rushes the back door. But this is the second game back of Ian McKay. I expect him to take that next step forward. He didn't look good last week, but we kind of said, okay, he gets that buffer period because this is his first time back, trusting the ankle. Nanakoke, I want to see him keep cooking because he's been playing phenomenal, putting the ball in the back of the net. And again, he scored the first goal again last week. He just seems to every single week, or majority of the weeks, score the first goal of the game for Buffalo. Byrne and Smith keep rolling. I still want to see 6, 7, 8 point nights from them. If they are, this offense is producing where they need to. You need more help from the lefties, though. Like, I expect Ian McKay and Scanlon to be the two lefties out there unless something happened during the week that we don't know about until the injury report comes out. I need those guys to step up. It can't just be the Josh Byrne show. You need more from those two guys on the left side. We said that versus the when they faced Colorado. Like, it was the one-man show with just Josh Byrne, and you had Tyson and Scanlon out there kind of doing the dirty work. This last week, Scanlon was the only one that popped it besides Josh Byrne. You need more help from the lefties. Joey Rez and Bucky, I need them to combine for 3 goals. Like, I don't care who gets the 3. I don't care if it's 3-0. I don't care if it's 1-2. Those 2 need to combine for 3. And then you got to get to the net and make Chileana move. Like, he's having a better year than he was last year. He won goalie of the year last year. You need to get him off his line and make him uncomfortable. If you're able to get to him early, I think you can beat him. It's just you can't let him settle in. Once he's settled in, it's very tough to beat him.
I think they need to do a better job of finding ways to get Joey Rez some opportunities. I think right now he's in a little bit more of a grinder role than I think we'd like to see him in. I know he's doing everything he can to help the team, and Smith had a good game while he was in that role again, and he got his first goal as a Bandit last game. I'm not
sick pass
upset about any of that, but he's had 2 games now in a row where he has 4 shots on goal. Like, he's a good shooter, and I already mentioned this in the first game he played where he only had 4 shots on goal. That I think he had 1 other game for Philly in the last 2 years where he's had 4 or less shots on goal. So I think they just need to get him shooting more, either trusting himself to shoot more or finding ways to get him open. I don't know if the chemistry is still a bit of an issue. Again, it's only game 2. I can't expect him to just become part of the offense that quickly, but I think he needs to get up into the 6, 7, 8 shots a game before he starts really getting into a rhythm and scoring more. I think it's really tough for him to score consistently when he's getting 4 shots on net. And I think most of those are even coming that they're not great looks. They're just kind of thrown at the net. And even the one goal he had was a great goal. But it wasn't like a outside shot or a great, move to get inside and free himself. Like, I think he's just a better player than we've seen so far in Buffalo. I think his role has changed a little bit than what he was in Philly. Obviously, he's not relied on quite as much, but I'd like to see him shooting more because the whole reason you brought him in was to take some of the pressure off of Dane Smith, to bring some goal-scoring ability. And I think it's only been 2 games, so I'm not pressing the panic button by any means. I think he'll get acclimated to this offense, but I'd like to see him shooting 6, 7, 8 times a game and even having them set him up for 1 or 2 good shots out there where he's not just kind of dumping it at the net and trying to set up Dane most of the game. I mean, Dane, I don't know how many shots he had last game, but he usually
16.
averages. Yeah, so take 3 of those away and give them to Joey Rez, and we're up to 7, and everything's fine. I just feel like it's still so weighted for Dane, exactly what you just said, 16 shots. That's a lot of shots for one player, and I think the whole reason you brought Joey Rez in is to take some of the pressure off a Dane Smith and to give them another threat, and I feel like they just haven't really given him a good opportunity to become that guy yet. Again, it's only 2 games, not completely worried, but it's going to be hard to have a get-right game for an offense against this kind of defense and goaltending. But I'd like to see him just get his shots up in general.
Yeah, I'm less about the number of shots. I just want to see more play designs where he's involved in it, where just less the grind. I was kind of hoping, and this can still happen again. He's only played 2 games, so I'm not kind of down-talking what we've seen from him. He's just a different style of player right now than what we thought he was going to be when he stepped into this, and he can still develop into that, and they can still work him into the offense. I just want to see more 2-man games with him and Nanticoke. Like, between those 2, I think they can have unbelievable 2-man games. Like, you see it versus Buffalo multiple times where you get inside, you just push the guy off, and then he's wide open. Like, I think both of those guys are bigger body guys that if you can mash and push around on the inside and free each other up, like, go to set the pick and then slip the pick and get inside, and then you feed each other. Like, I think those 2 can develop once they have enough time on the field together in a fantastic 2-man game like we see out of Buchanan and Smith. I think that's one of the things, and many people have mentioned it. I think Teddy Jenner's mentioned it. I know Pat Gregoire has mentioned it. It was Nanticoke and Chase Frazier with the 2-man game last year. They haven't really had a second fiddle to Toke and Nanticoke to get that open. Dane Smith, for some reason, misses him every single time, Phil. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's almost like every single time Nanticoke sets that pick, the guy goes to Josh Byrne, who's in the corner, and Nanticoke is wide open every single time. Like, go watch the film. I am not lying when I say it's every stinking time. There might have been 1 or 2 times this season where he has not come open free. But when Nanticoke sets that pick and Dane Smith goes to the corner, that second defender goes with him almost every single time, and Nanticoke is left open every single time, and Dane Smith misses him every single time. So all I'm asking, Dane Smith, I know you're so much, you've forgotten more about lacrosse than I know about in my entire life than I'll ever know. Just turn your head a little bit more and see Nanticoke wide open in front of the net, please. But yeah, well, Phil, we'll get into our predictions here. We both have Saskatchewan winning. The people pick Buffalo at 75%. I understand, and I get it, that we're a Buffalo-based show, and the majority of the followers that we have are Buffalo Bandits fans. But whoo, baby, 75% seems like a massive number. Phil, what's your prediction for this game?
Yeah, I have them losing. I have the Rush getting their revenge, and I'm going to say 10-8 in a low-scoring defensive kind of game with Saskatchewan winning.
I also have it lower scoring. We're not going to reach that 28-goal mark. It just seems like every time this team scores, besides that 15-6 plays, I should say, besides that 15-6 finale, they play it close, and it's lower scoring games. I got it 11-10 loss. I think it's going to be a 1-goal game. I don't know if it's going to end up in overtime, but I do think it's going to be the same exact score that we saw earlier in this season. But Phil, Let's move on to the milestone minute, fastest milestone minute in all the land. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game, so if you missed one and you don't want to listen back, you can look for them there. Phil, there are 12 this week. 12. But I think every single one of these can happen. I really do, except for maybe one. Away.
Except Josh Byrne.
We go. When the opening faceoff happens, it will be the franchise's 500th regular season game. Dylan Robinson is 2 loose balls away from setting a new career high. Kyle Buchanan is 4 points away from 700 for his career. He's also 1 goal away from tying Chris Cloutier for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Toka Nanticoke is 2 goals away from tying Chris Cloutier for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 5 goals away from tying Mark Stainhouse for 2nd place in Buffalo Bandits history. Kyle Buchanan is 2 assists away from tying Chris Cloutier for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. If Josh Byrne plays on Saturday, we'll move into a tie for 9th place with Justin Martin for games played in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 2 caused turnovers away from tying Kevin Brownell for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history. Josh Byrne is still 1 caused turnover away from tying David Brock for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 4 assists away from tying Sean Evans for 10th place with 66 in a single Buffalo Bandits season. He's 6 away from tying himself for 8th, 8 away from tying himself for 7th. Josh Byrne is 7 assists away from tying Sean Evans for 10th place with 66 in a single Buffalo Bandits season.
53
Pretty good for 12. Ever since I chopped like the averages and just left those to social media, I'm so much quicker. Should have done that years ago.
You're learning. You're learning as you go.
Learning, adjusting, and grooving.
Do you think if you had to put money on it? We'll put it this way. I'm not saying you're going to, but if you had to put money on Josh Byrne getting just a single cause turnover this season, what do we? He's going. So you're putting money on that he's going to get 1 cause turnover this year.
At this point, I'm not going to. He's doing this to hurt me. Like, this is the only milestone in every year we've done this that has not been achieved. I've said it every single time, Phil. Like, he needs 1. He got 0.
He had 8 last year, 14 the year before.
Yep.
0 this year.
Well aware.
He's even had at least 1 every single playoff run as well, in obviously less games. So
he's doing this to haunt me because
he knows these milestones are happening. Like he there's gonna be a time where he's gonna cause a turnover, but then like hit the loose ball to someone else, like shoot.
Remember, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I call him like I didn't say Batman and Robin. I said like Bert and Ernie, and then he DM'd us his and Dane Smith's stat line of like.
Well, no, it's because you call him the string bean.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I call him a string bean. I think this is him just getting even with me, and then he sent us a DM of like him versus Dane Smith in like size comparison. Oh, it's so funny. He said it in a joking manner. It was all good, but yeah, I forgot I called him a string bean. Sorry. Maybe here. I'll put it like Josh Byrne. I formally apologized like 3 years ago for calling you a string bean. I take it back. I didn't realize your size and strength and muscular abilities. Just get a
Oh
cause
boy.
turnover, man. I'm tired of saying it. This is just a tie him too. Just get two and end it.
There you
Phil,
go.
let's dive into Week 18 outlook. I know you got another game, so we're gonna fly through these 30 seconds. Friday, 7 p.m. Halifax versus Philly. We all took Halifax. The people took Halifax at 87%. If you're a Bandits fan, you're rooting for Philly in this one, obviously, even though it doesn't really matter a ton. Phil, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is a who cares kind of game.
I care.
Hell,
Under 10,
oh,
Philly. Under 10.
EKK, that's true. Halifax made a ton of roster changes recently, and I think that's probably the most exciting thing about this game to see who's in the roster, who's in the lineup, who plays, what it looks like, and Halifax seems to be turning the page toward their future. So I think that's pretty much the only thing to really look for in this game.
Yeah, Jordan Storos getting signed. Good for him. He was one of the first people. I think he was the first player ever to come on our
I think
show
he was the first player.
years ago. So happy to see him get another shot. But Casey Wilson put on the eval list, 3-year deal. We'll see. Hopefully, we should see him because I only believe you're allowed to spend 1 week on the eval list. I might be wrong about that one, but yeah, we'll probably see him this season. So it'll be interesting to see how he integrates into the lineup. Saturday, 7 p.m., Georgia versus Ottawa. We all took Georgia. People took Georgia at 65%. Phil, and everybody out there, if you're a Buffalo Bandits fan, you're rooting for Ottawa in this one. Bring Georgia back one. Again, this is all assuming Buffalo wins. If they lose, then it's a different story. Then you're going to be rooting for Georgia over Ottawa. But if we won't know that until after because this game takes place first. Phil, what is your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is about Dobson and Georgia's defense getting back on track. They were on a streak of allowing 9 or less goals for 11 straight games, which is ridiculous. But now they've allowed 14 and 16 the last 2 weeks. I still think they're a great defense. Brett Dobson's still one of the best, if not the best, goalie in the league. So we'll see if they can get off of this little bit of a slump they're on, or if it will continue for another game.
I believe Georgia can clinch with a win and some help this week. Saturday, 7 p.m., same time, Rochester versus Oshawa. You and I took Rochester, but the coin gave Oshawa to the people at 50%. Phil, what are your thoughts on this one? You're rooting for Oshawa as well if you're a Bandits fan.
Yes. Officially do or die for Rochester.
Yep.
Can they get back on track and save their season? They've lost 7 of their last 8, which is really bad. I don't know if you know that losing 7 of 8 is not good. Kind of puts you out of the playoff picture. But yeah, if they lose this game, it's over for them. And if they win, their slim hopes are still alive. But this is, and we've been saying it for weeks now, I feel like, that Rochester's been in a do or die kind of situation. But here we are again. And I think this is probably their last shot of a do or die game. If they lose this one, I think it's pretty much over.
Yeah, if Rochester loses this one, I will announce them as finally cooked. I did that to Halifax after the Bandits game, I believe, and I was proven right. I've declared multiple teams dead many times on this show so far this season, and I've been right every time. If Rochester loses this one, they're done. Saturday, 10 p.m., Calgary versus Vegas. Everybody took Vegas. People took Vegas at 88%. You're rooting for Calgary if you're a Buffalo Bandits fan.
Yeah, this is, to me, about Vegas's defense and goaltending. It's been shaky, and if they make playoffs and they want to do a little bit better.
Who starts for Vegas for you?
It's a great question. Probably.
Bouquet's won the last 2, but he was also in net when Rochester made the comeback last week.
Yeah. I don't think either have been great.
I think you go Bouquet, but you got a short leash.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
That's fair. They've allowed double-digit goals in 7 straight and 11 of their 13 games, so that's not good. And if you make playoffs, that's not going to be a way to win. I know their offense is legit, and they've been able to win plenty of games not having great goaltending, but playoffs are a different animal. So to me, this is kind of can they get their defense and goaltending in shape and in order before playoffs if they are trying to make a run?
Yeah, my biggest eye is going to be on the injury report to see if Chase Frazier gets that D next to his name. If he gets doubtful, that means he's pretty close. Sean Wesley was doubtful last week, so they're sitting 6-7 in a playoff spot right now. I think Chase Frazier's doing everything he can to get back in that lineup, because if he can get back in that lineup, this offense is the best across the league. Sunday, fun day, 1:00 game, Toronto versus Philly. We all took Toronto. People took Toronto at 95%, the highest pick of the week. Phil, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, to me, Toronto proved that they are legit after last week's win. I think they are a solid team, looking like a good cup contender potentially. Could go on a deep playoff run. This game with Philly's second game of the weekend really shouldn't be that big of a deal for them.
Yeah, this is a big week for me for Philly. Score under 20. Feeling
Two tough defenses.
Pretty good. But Toronto can also clinch this weekend, I believe, with a win and some help. But Phil, that rounds out week 18. Do we got time for your game, or you want to push it?
Yeah, we'll do it quick, because the game could be nullified after this week. So
that's fair.
This was to get Buffalo a home playoff game. Is it even possible? So you got Colorado 10-5 remaining schedule. Desert Dogs, Rush, Roughnecks. What do you have them finishing? Rapid fire.
What is it again?
Desert Dogs, Rush, Roughnecks to finish the season for Colorado.
1-2.
Okay, that puts them at 11-7. Doesn't do much for Buffalo because they don't have the tiebreaker. Buffalo's remaining schedule, they're 8-6. They got the Rush, the Warriors, Rochester, and Oshawa.
2-2.
All right, puts them at 10-8. I can't do that. Next, you have Georgia, 9-5. Remaining schedule is Ottawa, San Diego, and then Rochester and Rochester.
2-2.
Okay, that pretty much ends the Bandits. So, Toronto's remaining schedule, they're 9-5. You got Philly, San Diego, Ottawa, and the Rush.
3-1.
All right. Wow, that definitely ends Buffalo's chances. And then Ottawa, I threw in there just for fun in case they wanted some crazy run, but they're 8-7. They got Georgia, Toronto, and Halifax.
1-2.
9-11. 9-9. My goodness, that wasn't even close. All right, so you got Buffalo. Let's see, they'd be 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? That's not right.
Because they lost the head-to-head versus Ottawa.
Oh, I have the 3 in there. Never mind. Sorry. 3, 4, 5, 6. You have them finishing 10-8. Ottawa 9-9. So they'd be 6.
You're right. Yes. Okay.
Ottawa
right.
7, and then we'll say Vegas 8. So that is not a home playoff game. And if that stood, it'd be Buffalo at 6. Would be against. Why am I blank? 3? 6-3?
Yeah.
So it'd be, oh, wow. Well, that's your dream. It'd be Toronto and Buffalo. So that'd be a good time.
That's
I
fine
will
with me.
accept. Yeah, I will accept this out. I'd love a Buffalo home playoff game. I think it's still possible, but like you said,
It's still
gonna take
possible. They just need to likely go
Buffalo's
3-1 and get help.
Yep.
I mean, 4-0 ideal, but that would mean you're on a massive winning streak, and they have done that before. Remember their second championship?
Yes.
They went on that massive winning streak and never
This
lost.
is exactly what happened. I think somebody said that they were at the exact point in the season last time for that championship. They were like 6-7 or whatever, and in this season they were 6-7 at the time. Or it might have been 6-6 at the time that they went on their huge run and made it all the way through the playoffs. So it could happen again. I don't know if it will with the Rush in Vancouver, but I think it's still possible for them to get a home game. I think, like you just said, 6 is probably a little bit more likely. And if they're playing Toronto in Toronto, that'd be a really fun game. So I will accept that.
They were 7-7, and they finished 4-0 down the stretch, and then 5-0 through the playoffs.
Insane.
It's possible.
So they're just making it even bigger. Bigger run.
But that wraps this one up. On the next episode, we will break down Buffalo versus Saskatchewan 2.0. We'll go around the league for Week 18, let you kind of know where Buffalo stands in the playoff hunt. According to me, they're not going to get a home playoff game, but if that happens, save you a little bit of money, because it's been very expensive the last 4 years.
You can spend it on the Sabres home playoff game instead.
Or go to Tap That Tap Room. You can do that as well. We'll go over the 2 Sabres games that went down, and pretty much anything else that breaks. Bring an umbrella. My backyard was fine, and now it's flooded, and I hate everything. Spring sucks. It's the worst season in the world. If you like it, I hate you. But yeah, that wraps up this episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Make sure you listen to that interview with Cody Jansen from Wednesday. Give Phil's article a read. Came out on Tuesday. Until next time, we'll see you later.